Greeting, friends, neighbors, and gardeners. That's another one of those grumpy gardener medicine shows. And boy, I tell you what, today, truly, I'm grumpy. Yeah, with the pulling the masks off, lowering the old mandates and stuff, and well, I've been holed up for a few years over here, staying safe, but we've been out to eat several times lately with friends and doing a little bit of partying and getting looser, I guess, and I picked something up. It ain't COVID, whatever it is. But I don't feel that great today. Anyway, I'm here today because of Comfrey. I find Comfrey to be a bit of a mystery plant. I guess it kind of illustrates the fact that human beings really don't live that long, and that knowledge doesn't necessarily always cycle forward in the human race. Comfrey has a long, ancient history in Europe and possibly Asia too, where it originates as a medicinal herb. It's known for being able to heal skin ailments, I guess would be its major purpose medically. But going way back into the 1960s, when I was a young man, I had a mentor. Old Freddie Bell. He ran the local health food store. Freddie had great organic gardens and just a whole head full of knowledge about herbs and herbal medicines and things like this. And I was probably more than 10 years my senior, but I started hanging out with Freddie, and I learned an awful lot from him. Now, one of the things Freddie was into back in the 60s was Comfrey. In those days, Comfrey was a miracle plant. People were even feeding it to their goats and things like this. Now, what I had understood back in those days is that one of the real features of this plant was that it actually contained a vitamin B complex, which is unusual in the plant kingdom. We don't usually find that. Mushrooms, have it, but anyway, it's a different thing. And so a lot of the vegans were using it to be able to keep the vitamin B in their systems, but it was heavily promoted. And so Freddie had a patch of it in his garden, and it was spreading. And like anybody who has a patch of Comfrey, they're trying to find somebody to give Comfrey to. It's like zucchini. So one day I was by Fred's looking at the garden, and Fred says, "Hey, I'm going to dig up some of this Comfrey. You want some of it?" I said, "Oh yeah, sure, Fred, I'll take a little." And so I took some Comfrey. In those days, we saw it as a valuable medicinal herb, And I planted it in my garden in Wisconsin. And, it started spreading and spreading and spreading. And in the meantime, there were some studies that were done on Comfrey that indicated that the plant was not really a good medicinal herb. It had a lot of dangerous qualities. It could heal skin. This was real. And I believe the B complex thing is also probably a real statement. But it had other chemicals in it that could destroy the liver. It was also put onto a list of carcinogenic substances, probably about the same time that the laetrile from apricot pits and sassafras bark, too. All three of them went down the pipe as far as being toxic, as the studies were concerned, particularly carcinogenic. Anyhow, I decided, since I didn't really like the herb anyway, it was a coarse, rough thing. It had no texture that I would want to eat. I didn't have any livestock in particular I was planning to feed it to. I wasn't aware of the fact at the time that it actually had a reasonable fertilizer value in the foliage. That it does. But anyway, once I realized that there were dangers with the plant, I said, "Oh man, that's it. I'm getting rid of this." So I fired up the tractor, headed out into the garden, and sunk down the plow, and then ran over it with discs, and I chopped everything up, in the fall. Next spring came, Comfrey came up everywhere. When I disked it, I had cut it into tiny pieces, apparently, propagated it into root cuttings, and instead of one patch that had been about 10 foot by 3 foot. I ended up with comfrey over about 100 foot by 100 foot area. I just spread it everywhere, and it came up, started growing, and I literally had to go out and physically pull every one of the stupid plants out of the ground. And I said, I hate this plant. I don't like this plant at all, and if it's not good for you, fine. And for years, even like a lot of the organic gardening community, Rodale Press and stuff, they kind of turned on comfrey. They stopped promoting it, and it really sort of died off. But times change, and it's as if all that information got lost. Now, of course, my information of how aggressive it is when it comes to cultivation, that's personal. I had that experience, and so that's, my personal disdain for the plant. But the rest of it's public knowledge, but it's gotten lost. All of a sudden now, I got people, comfrey. Yeah, even my buddy Joe Hewitt's got it over there. He's using it for ground covers. They, promote it as a good soil binder. Well, truly, I guess it is, but, I get attitudes about plants that don't behave well, and I'll tell you, if you're using it for a soil binder, don't ever cultivate it. Don't ever cultivate comfrey. Yeah, if you do, you will spread it all over kingdom come. Anyway, I find myself sort of flashing back on this going, what happened? Did everybody forget that comfrey isn't a wonder drug, because I talk to people, I keep hearing about it all the time, and I just keep shaking my head. They even come into the nursery, they ask me, do you have comfrey? Hell no! No, I don't have comfrey. What are you, crazy? Oh, man. So then the other day Ellen brought home a copy of a local magazine they publish here on the island. It's usually full of good stuff. I've read some nice articles in there. But this time it had an article about the values of comfrey. And I'm going, oh, man, it's not even, it's getting into print now, too, on top of it, Anyway, so I had to be sure that what I thought I knew about the plant was correct. And so I went and I took a look. And so here I am on the website for Mount Sinai Medical Center, all right? It's about as good as using the Mayo Clinic or any of the other major medical sites. And I know that people out there supporting comfrey are going, well, that's all propaganda. It's a government lie. Well, yeah, let's face it. I suppose that there has been an attack on herbal supplements by big pharma in the United States. There have been a lot of studies paid for, and they've tried to get things through Congress to try to limit our access to these herbal supplements. And so there is a war. Yeah, but it's not sponsored by the U.S. government, and it's not the government lying to you about the nature of comfrey. There are studies that have been produced to limit the acceptability of the herb, usually by commercial sources. That's where it comes from. Anyway, reading off the website here, it's sometimes used to treat wounds and reduce inflammation from sprains and broken bones. Comfrey roots and leaves contain allantoin, I believe is the pronunciation, a substance that helps skin cells grow, along with other substances that reduce inflammation and keep skin healthy. It says comfrey ointments have been used to heal bruises, as well as pulled muscles, ligaments, fractures, sprains, and osteoarthritis. Okay, these are all the positive qualities. Okay, but in the past, comfrey has been used to treat stomach problems. However, it has toxic substances called pyrrolizidine alkaloids. I'm trying my best. I can't get it out. Anyway, it has alkaloids that damage the liver and can cause death. Comfrey is no longer sold in the U.S. except as creams and ointments. The United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and Germany have banned the sale of oral products containing comfrey. Dangerous substances in comfrey are also absorbed through the skin, so harmful amounts can build up in the body. Be careful if you use an ointment containing comfrey. Now, when they're talking about your kid, so for pediatric, it says never give a child comfrey by mouth. Do not put creams or ointments with comfrey on a child's skin. That's pretty clear. Adult, never take comfrey by mouth. Severe liver poisoning and even death may occur. It says, when using herb and leaf ointments, creams, and other preparations for skin, follow these safety recommendations. Never apply comfrey to broken skin. Okay? Use only small amounts of creams with comfrey for no longer than 10 days at a time. Do not use any comfrey product for more than 4 to 6 weeks in one calendar year. Comfrey has toxic substances that can cause severe liver damage and even death, and should never be taken by mouth. It says the toxic substances in comfrey can be absorbed by the skin. Even creams and ointments should be used only for a short period of time and only under a doctor's supervision. And good luck trying to find doctors in this country that will promote comfrey. So do not use comfrey if you have liver disease, alcoholism, or cancer. All right, wow. It says, children, the elderly, and pregnant or breastfeeding women should never use comfrey products, even the ones on the skin. That's pretty clear. And they haven't told you, don't. You know, you want to use the cream, go ahead, put it on your skin, but watch out. The one thing they told you don't is don't put it in your mouth and don't give it to your kid. So I wouldn't be feeding it to my goats either, which some people do. Whether comfrey is as toxic as all that sounds, probably not, okay? Because so many people are into comfrey, there'd be a lot more corpses and liver damage around, I suppose, if it was really severely dangerous. But what I can tell you is those warnings are enough to get me to decide if I had a skin ailment, I'll come up with something else. I do not need to use comfrey for that because it has too many other negative qualities to it, so it doesn't really warrant. Why people are promoting it in local magazine articles really is beyond me. I understand Coconut Telegraph around here. People start promoting stuff, you know, and so, oh yeah, here, have some of this, you know, comfrey's that kind of thing. They don't usually grow it from seed. It's grown by cuttings, and so if you have it, you probably got it from some friend who thought they were being nice to you, like Freddie Bell thought he was to Bill. You know, anyway, you heard the warnings, and so I personally, I would just stay away from the plant. I don't see any redeeming characteristics on that herb. There's too many things about it that are negative, to consider it to be a positive in the garden. I drew attitudes about plants, and comfrey is one of them. The day I spread that with my disc all over my gardens, I said, that's the end of this mess. Yeah. All right, well, there's the grumpy gardener feeling grumpier than usual and talking about a grumpy herbal subject. I highly recommend that you just kind of stay away from comfrey. Hang loose.